Hi everyone, this recording covers Section 4, Authority Records of the Getting Started with Archeion slide deck. You can access the full slide deck and all of the notes referenced in this recording through the link on this slide or through the QR code. So Section 4 of the slide deck covers authority records only. If you're looking for information about how to add an archival description or an archival institution to Archeion, there are additional recordings covering those portions of the slide deck in the AAO's Archeion playlist on YouTube. This section only covers authority records and the policy recommendations and standards you must follow when creating these records in Archeion. So Archeion has 3 levels of information in the database. First, it has archival institution pages, 1 page representing each Archeion institution. This was already covered in Section 2 of the slide deck. And next, archival institution pages have archival descriptions, which represent the records that each archival institution cares for. Third is what this section covers, authority records. When creators or subject names are added to archival descriptions, a people and organizations record is created that can be browsed separately from the archival description these names are connected to. Another way to visualize these 3 levels of information is that an archival institution has archival descriptions. Archival descriptions have people or organizations who are the creators of or named subjects of that archival description, and people and organization information or authority records, what we're discussing in this recording, are maintained by an archival institution. Authority records are defined by the International Council on Archives as the authorized form of name, combined with other information elements that identify and describe the named entity, and may also point to other related authority records. In Archeion, authority records are basically the creators and name access points tied to an institution's archival descriptions. For discovery purposes, authority records in Archeion act as an entryway into an institution's records and are important for information retrieval and navigation. Authority records are browsable and searchable from the People and Organizations page in Archeion, seen here on the screenshot and linked in the slide notes. From the People and Organizations page in Archeion, authority records are displayed in a list that can be searched, sorted, and exported. Once an end user lands on an authority record, they can then navigate to the archival descriptions related to that named entity. In this example, we're looking at the authority record for Jim Tester. On the left, you can see that the authority record indicates Jim Tester is the creator of the James Tester Fond, which is held by the Laurentian University Archives, as well as the Jim Tester Collection, which is held by the Archives of Ontario. This is one of the most powerful use cases of Archeion. Institutions share authority records to let end users know which institutions care for archival records of a given person, family, or organization. Because authority records are so important for information retrieval and discovery in Archeion, as of June 1st, 2023, the Archives Association of Ontario set a policy for Archeion institutions to follow when creating authority records. This policy can be found on the About Archeion page on the AAO website, under Archeion Policies. It outlines the minimum requirements for authority records in Archeion effective June 1st, 2023. This policy applies to Archeion authority records created after June 1st, 2023, and is intended to guide contributing Archeion institutions in working towards standardization for authority record entries in Archeion. The policy directly contributes to the AAO's goal of promoting professional standards, procedures, and practices among archival repositories. It is essential that Archeion institutions familiarize themselves with the policy and consult with the Archeion coordinator if they have any questions or suggestions. The policy will be reviewed annually. Note that the policy references the International Council on Archives ISAR standard. Archeion institutions should refer to the ISAR standard when creating an authority record for further instruction on how to fill out authority record fields, which we'll cover a bit later in the slides. The corresponding rule from ISAR for each field identified in the policy as mandatory or recommended has the corresponding ISAR rule written beside it. If this all sounds daunting and you're wondering if you're even going to have time to create authority records with all of these rules, please do not worry. There are really only a few requirements in the policy, and once you're familiar with how to fill in the required fields, creating authority records to meet Archeion's minimum requirements should not be a time-consuming process. If you do run into any issues, please do contact the Archeion coordinator. So let's walk through the process of creating an authority record. There are 3 different methods, and I've linked to each method in the Access to Memory documentation by Artifactual Systems in the slide notes. So on the very left screenshot, it's showing the first method, which is to select the plus sign from the main menu in Archeion when you're logged in with an editor account, and select Authority Record. This will take you to the ISAR Authority Record Edit form where you can begin to add your authority record into Archeion. The second method, which is the rightmost screenshot, is showing you that you can add an authority record when you fill in a name in the actor name field from the dates of creation section of the archival description edit form. In the slides where I've linked to the instructions for how to do this, just ensure you're looking at the RAD template. Archeion uses the RAD template of the archival description edit form, and creator names are added from the dates of creation portion of this form. The third method is whenever you add a name access point from an archival description edit form, you are also creating an authority record for that name. But before you create any new authority record, you always want to check that the name of the person, family, or organization that you want to add to Archeion doesn't already exist. If the name already exists, you must use that existing authority record, and you can do this by checking first from the Browse search bar or person and organization page just by searching the name. Or if you're already in the archival description edit form, you would begin to fill in the name into the name access point field or the actor name field and see if the name auto-populates. Remember to just be patient with this drop-down field. It can be slow to auto-populate, and you also want to make sure that you're matching the exact spelling and format of the name if it already exists as an authority record in Archeion. Do not copy and paste existing authority record names into this field. They're very sensitive. Copying and pasting could lead to a duplicate authority record being created for the same entity. And as per the Archeion authority record policy, we don't want to create duplicate authority records if a person or organization or family already exists as an authority record in Archeion. So if you do find an existing authority record that you want to use as a creator or name access point in your archival description, but it's maintained by another institution, you can look through the authority record and see if there's any information that you want to add so that it's represented in your archival description. And if you do want to add information or edit the authority record, you can contact the Archeion coordinator or the institution to edit the authority record. As a policy, you do not want to be editing authority records that don't belong to your institution, but if you want to share an authority record, that's okay. So we just want to make sure we're not creating multiple authority records for the same entity, and if we need to share authority records, that's allowed, and there's methods to do that. You can just contact the Archeion coordinator or the institution that you want to share an authority record with. So if you do run into a use case where you want to be sharing a record with another institution in Archeion, the policy indicates how to handle that. And this slide just shows an example that is an authority record that's maintained by Laurentian University Archives, but also shared with the Archives of Ontario. Once you've done an exhaustive search in Archeion and you're sure there's no existing authority record for the name that you need to add to your archival description, then you're going to have to create the authority record using one of the methods we discussed previously, following the Archeion authority record policy and ISAR instructions per field. We'll walk through the main menu method where you click the plus sign, select authority record, and that takes you to the ISAR form where you can add an authority record into Archeion. The first field is type of entity. This is mandatory. You must select from the 3 entity types currently available in Archeion, which is person, corporate body, or family. Some AAO members have surfaced that these entity types are not appropriate for some authority records, such as when describing Indigenous nations or other communities. Any changes to the entity type terms available in Archeion will require some consultation and review, so since this type field is a facet on the People and Organizations Browse page, please consult with the Archeion coordinator if you have feedback on different terms you want to have included in the database. Currently, you can only select person, corporate body, or family. And this type is mandatory because it helps identify the type of entity an end user can look for when they're searching through Archeion. For example, assigning corporate body to an authority would help a user who wants to surface business records, or applying family would help a user who's looking for family records. The second field is very important. It's the authorized form of name. So if you're describing a person, please use the last name, first name convention when entering their name. But if the entity you're describing has an entry in a standard like the Virtual International Authority file, please use the format of name provided by that standard, except in the case of dates. And this is because the data that you enter into the authorized form of name field gets included in the URL slug to the authority record. So the dates you enter into the authorized form of name field may need to be updated in the future, but once the authority record is created and published, An institution should not be changing the URL slug to the authority record to maintain healthy links in Archeion. So Archeion institutions must not include dates in the authorized form of name field, even if the standard entry for that name includes those dates, as we saw with the VF entry. I know this may seem counterintuitive, but it will actually help with the long-term relevancy of Archeion as a database in decades to come. So just remember that this is part of a policy that just came into effect in 2023, so some Archeion authority records do have dates in the authorized form of name field, but we are discontinuing this practice moving forward. It is okay to include dates in the other forms of name fields. Please refer to the ISAR standard to consult the rules on when to use which of these fields and how, and these fields can be especially helpful to fill in to assist end users with information retrieval because they are also searchable for abbreviated names, former names of an organization, or nicknames of an authority record entity. In the Access to Memory platform, dates of existence is marked as required, but for Archeion, this field is only recommended because not all institutions will have dates of existence for the authority records that they're creating. If you do know the dates of the entity you're describing, please do fill in this field because it can be very helpful for end users. The history field for your authority record is actually where you form the administrative or biographical sketch of your archival description. So when filling in this form, you can refer to ISAR 5.2.2 as well as the Rules for Archival Descriptions 1.7b section. And this slide just shows that when you connect an authority record to an archival description, you'll see the information that you added in the authority record history field displaying on the corresponding archival description. It does not display if you add the authority record as a name access point to a description. There are other fields in the description area of the authority record that you can choose to fill in, but it is recommended that you just save time and leave these blank if they're not relevant to your authority record. Only dates and history are the recommended fields in this section of the authority record form. Next is the control area in the authority record edit form. This is also an important section to fill in when creating new authority records. As of June 1st, 2023, we are encouraging Archeion institutions to include a virtual international authority file permalink within the authority record identifier field. I know that many authority records in Archeion will not have a corresponding VF entry, but we are encouraging you to check whenever you add a new authority record to see if one exists. This is a very good practice for all archives to adopt to ensure data consistency and normalization of Archeion authority record data. It also lends itself to future-proofing Archeion data for perhaps down the road at some point a linked data archival discovery platform because it gives a URI alongside the authorized form of name that is unique and standardized. So going forward, please consider including a VF permalink in the authority record identifier if one exists. Please also do not add your internal identifiers here because this field is also used to deduplicate authorities that share an identifier. So if you're entering internal authority record identifiers here, Archeion may falsely flag your authority record as a duplicate since we cannot ensure your internal authority record identifiers are unique from another institution in the database. The next field in the control area is the maintaining repository field. As of June 1st, 2023, this field is now mandatory so that whenever you add a new authority record into Archeion, you must add your institution as the maintaining repository for that authority record, which means you are responsible for maintaining that authority record. And if there are any questions or information about it, it will be directed to your repository. I've linked in the slides to the Access to Memory documentation about this field, but all you need to do is simply begin typing your name into the maintaining repository field, wait for the field to auto-populate, and then select your institution. Remember not to copy and paste data into this field. If you copy and paste the name of your institution into this field, it could result in a duplicate institution record being created. Authority records your institution maintains will also show on your institutional profile and are also displayed as a facet on the People and Organizations page. Note that you do not have to include your Archeion institution identifier in the institution identifier field, which is just below the maintaining repository field. The institution identifier is already present on Archeion institution pages, so you do not need to re-enter it here. The sources field in the control area is flagged as optional in the Archeion authority record policy, but I do want to highlight it here because it can be useful to add sources that you consulted when creating the authority record. For example, adding links to alternate authority records like the Library of Congress name authority file for an entity or Wikidata or Wikipedia entries for an entity. The last field in the control area that is flagged as optional in the Archeion Authority Record Policy is the Maintenance Notes field. You can use this field for any maintenance notes that you'd like to add about an authority record, and you can also use it to indicate the other repository additional to the maintaining repository if two repositories share a given authority record. The ISAR Authority Record Form also has a section about access points. I don't currently recommend adding access points to your authority records. I would just recommend you leave these fields blank. Over the years, some institutions in Archeion have used the occupation area, but this has been inconsistently applied and requires review as of 2023. Once you've filled in all mandatory fields and checked that you've filled in as many recommended fields or optional fields as you can click the Create button at the bottom of the ISAR Authority Record Edit form to publish the authority record. Once an authority record is created, it is live to the public. Even if its related descriptions are in draft and not yet public, the authority record will be public. Remember to save frequently while working on an authority record if you are entering a lot of information because of the Atom timeout gotcha. If you've created a new authority record but you don't have dates of existence for that authority, you will see this red error-looking message from the Access to Memory platform that says that this field is mandatory. Just remember that in the Atom platform, dates of existence is marked as mandatory, but for Archeion, dates of existence is only recommended because we know that not all institutions will have dates of existence for an authority, so you can disregard this message if you see it. In Archeion, you can change your own authority records that you are the maintaining repository for at any time, but if you make errors, want to delete an authority record, change the URL slug of an authority record, or want to share an authority record with an institution, you can contact the Archeion coordinator. I also want to flag that there is a relationships area in the authority record ISAR edit form where different authority records and descriptions can be linked, such as in the case of family authority records connected to person authority records or connecting organizations. If you would like to use the relationships area portion of the authority record edit form, please contact the Archeion coordinator for more information. This area is not yet in the Archeion Authority Record Policy. Please note that we went through the method of creating an authority record through the main menu plus sign, but if you ever add a new name of a creator through the actor name in the archival description edit form, this also creates an authority record that you will need to refer back to and fill in after creating the archival description. The same applies whenever you add a new name to the name access points field in the archival description edit form. If you are adding name access points, you must go back and check the corresponding authority records created for this name to ensure that the mandatory and recommended fields are filled in for this name in the authority record as per the Archeion Authority Record Policy. I hope this recording has helped you understand how to create Archeion Authority Records alongside the new Archeion Authority Record Policy. I'm sure there are more use cases that we'll be working towards standardizing in the years to come. If you have suggestions or feedback, please contact the Archeion coordinator email. Thank you. Take care. Bye.